Welcome to the Experience of the Soul podcast with Cynthia Alice Anderson, a weekly show helping you grow, prosper, and evolve. Today, episode 335, The Law of Minimization. And now, Experience of the Soul.
Hello, dear friends, and welcome to the Experience of the Soul podcast. We are so glad to have you along the journey with us today. Man, friends, there's been a lot of emotions over the last few weeks, after the presidential election. And I've been talking with people, with clients, with family members, and some of our listeners are happy, some are sad, and we bless you all. And on this channel, what I can tell you we stand for is love, peace, unity, justice, and good for all. We also see prosperity for all of us as well. So we are so happy you're along the journey. Our goal is to lift each other up and to help you grow, prosper, and evolve. So that's what we're about on our channel today and on the podcast. And I'm here with my producer, who is absolutely fabulous.
Thanks. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Experience of the Soul podcast. This is episode 335. We are in week 3 of our 7-week series based on RCA's book, The 7 Spiritual Laws of Release. And today we're talking about the Law of Minimization. Did I say it right?
Yes,
Minimization.
you did.
Yes.
Well, it's a very little known law because I made it up. It's called. I'm not kidding.
That's cool.
I had the best time with this book, friends, and I can't wait to get into it. But we want to do a couple of quick shout outs, right?
Yes, absolutely. So we are shouting out today to Englewood, Colorado. We've had some downloads of recent episodes there. So hello, Englewood, Colorado. Thank you for joining us on the Experience of the Soul podcast. We're so happy to have you. Please let us know where exactly you're listening from and who you are. And if there's anything else that we can do to support your journey, you can always just send us a text using that send us a text message that you'll find at the very top of the show notes on all platforms, except for YouTube. And on YouTube, you can just leave a comment and we'll get to you that way.
Yes, we love to connect, and Englewood is beautiful. I'm a big fan of Colorado, and I know that's just south of Denver, a beautiful, beautiful area. And I was talking with Sean before he came online about the beautiful areas of Colorado. And I think we say this every time. I always look at what are the parks nearby and what are the nature things, because I love museums, I love cities, but what I remember about a place usually is an experience. So if I take my son to the museum, I'll remember that. And if I have these beautiful nature events, I remember that. So I know there's a lot of beauty in Englewood, and bless you all there. And thank you. And I was also mentioning another great place in Colorado, Garden of the Gods. So
Well, that
I know.
like a good place to go.
It is. It's beautiful. I did a horseback ride up in there years ago, and still have a picture from there. It was just so beautiful. You could get up and see all those rock formations that you'd never see on foot, unless you were really, really hiking through there, which most of us don't do on vacation. So I've had a lot of great hikes in and through Colorado. So it's beautiful, beautiful area there. Thank you for listening, my friends.
Yeah, very nice. Then we're also shouting out to a good friend and faithful Facebook follower and commenter, Willie Wilkerson.
Yes, Willie's known me since before I was born.
Oh, I didn't realize that. That's cool.
Yes, he knew me. He knew my family before I was even a thought. And Willie was my brother's shop teacher in high school. Willie also was was the person who inspired me to do mission work in Brazil with his work. He had been in the Peace Corps in Cameroon. He was one of the first people to go to Africa, to go to Cameroon and work for the Peace Corps. He was in the National Guard. He still serves in his 80s. He was one of the first to build houses with Millard Fuller, with Habitat for Humanity. He's worked with Jimmy Carter, and today still is building houses around the world. He was in Haiti just a few years ago. They built over 100 houses. So Mr. Willie is amazing. Yes.
What a shining example of how we're supposed to walk through this world in service to others. And
I could not say enough good about this man. The impact he had on my life, on my family's life, wow. And his daughter was in my scout troop. He came and worked with the girls. I mean, the things he taught my brother, my family. Just recently, he had wood. He had this old walnut he'd been holding onto for 50 years, and just gave it to my brother the other day. I mean, so Willie is incredible. He is the kind of man, if something happened in the middle of the night, that's the guy you could call, because no matter what happened or where it was, he'd be there. So he is incredible. He's got incredible kids, grandkids.
I love that
He's
he's so active on Facebook too. I mean, he comments
oh
on almost everything. I mean, you can always bet that
mm,
there'll be a comment from him on everything we put out.
oh yes, oh yes, yeah. It's been such a pleasure to stay connected with him for so long. I mean, he was like an extra dad to me, and growing up in the South, it was wonderful to have my dad's best friend, Mr. Willie, who was black, and we were, as one family. We the topic of race was not. I mean, we knew what was what, and we loved each other, and that was the end of that. And so, yes, Willie was quite impactful. He's my dad's best friend, I would say. And so, yeah, it's incredible. We've stayed connected. He still does. I think he might have just stopped doing this. He was doing the kids program at Home Depot as well, teaching little kids how to build. Yeah, yeah. His
That's
whole life,
awesome.
his whole life has been about building, showing others how to do and be, and what a legacy he leaves. I mean, thousands of people have been impacted by Mr. Willie. Yeah,
That's so great.
yeah.
Well, thank you, Willie. Thank you for being there with us, and for tuning in and supporting what we're doing here. I love what you said at the beginning here about how the work that you're doing, I don't know, for me is certainly never been more important, and I really
Yes.
can't express how it feels, how important it is to me to be a part of that, especially now. So
Yes, yes. I mean, my heart was heavy, around the election, and I've never been more sure about the work I do with how needed it is, because many of us feel unsupported, unloved, unseen, and it's so important that we support each other, that we cross the racial, the socioeconomic divides that seem to keep happening and seem to increase as well. I can't remember, Sean. I don't think I mentioned this to you, but I just yesterday I saw it was an old interview with Marlon Brando. It was in 1968, and he was quite an activist. Um, he was very impacted by King and his work for equality. And I'm going to find that link so we can share it in the show notes. If you've never seen it, to hear a Hollywood actor speak with such love and compassion and truth and grace about such a difficult topic, his clarity is unmatched. I mean, I sent it to a friend who's a leader in Orlando in such matters, and he said, "I see you as this." And I said, "Well, that's the biggest blessing, because I absolutely feel, friends, we've got to love one another bigger, better, more, to heal what we need to heal in this country." So anyway, and today is about that. My book, my teachings are always, again, to help you grow, prosper, and evolve. And even though we talk so much about the individual journey, this journey is also collective in how we relate to one another.
amen. So with that, friends, let's just go ahead and get into it. Once again, welcome officially to episode 335, week 3 of our 7-week series on the 7 spiritual laws of release. And today we are talking about the law of minimization.
Yes, the law of minimization, and my book should be out shortly. We had a glitch in the production of it, but it should be coming out fairly shortly. And I'm so happy. So many people have asked about how to purchase, and it will be on Amazon. We'll let you know for sure. And if by the time this airs, it's on, Sean will add a little announcement to the end and in the show notes too for how to purchase. So I want to bring you up to speed. So we've talked about a couple of different laws so far. And what I want you to remember is anything I'm saying in the show, anything I'm talking about with our journey, that what underscores it is the subtext, it is the underlying awareness that God's will for me is good, that God loves me, that I am worthy, that I am capable to receive, that if I can align myself with the good that God has for me, that I can and will prosper. I can and will move into more happiness. I can and will know the love of God, the love of the universe, and have love for my fellow man, for my fellow humans. And so, this is, it may seem slow to go one law at a time. And I wanted to do that because so often I'm trying to get a lot of information into these, 20-minute talks online and different things. And I like to take our time with a law. And my hope is that as I'm talking about it, as I'm speaking, I know some of you are driving or working when you're listening, but I hope you will take the time to go back and listen, maybe a second time, maybe a third time, get some notes down, get some ideas, because this law is very, very impactful to your life and to your world at large, what you call your life in world. It's true because the law of minimization is about very simply releasing what is not in alignment with your purpose. It's about about focusing on those things that are, right? So it is about minimizing any restrictions to the movement forward, and it is about managing things in your physical world, in your emotional world. So there's a lot to this law, and I felt I should describe a little bit about its awareness in my life, because many of you know that have been a part of my teachings for years know I've always talked about release. And I was doing deep meditation and writing this book. I'd meditate for hours, and then I would come out of meditation and I would just sit and write. And that's how all 7 chapters were written. Each law, I would go into prayer, I would meditate, and I would get up and I would write the chapter. And of course, there have been edits and different things and small corrections, but by and large, the book that you see and the book that I'm speaking about was written from a place of really guided prayer and meditation. And the law today, the law of minimization, you probably never heard of it because I made it up. When I say I made it up, it came to me at the end of a meditation. I was asking God for understanding, for awareness, for a word that would describe this way that I walk through the world, this way that I practice release, this way that I am known for cutting away those things that are not serving, and then focusing in and bringing in the things that are. So that are serving, that are important. And so what's interesting, as I develop this law and as I develop my own understanding, we don't really have to add anything because we're already God's. God already loves us. There's already an inner wisdom and guidance. There's already this inner knowing. And so what we do is move away what isn't helpful. And then we just kind of bloom out when we don't have all these distractions. And I've been dealing with this in my own life recently, thinking, why is this a little irritant over here and this a little irritant over here? So I'm working this law right now, as I am all of these. As I bring these to you, they're very real in my life, and it's a reason that we wanted to discuss it. So as I came out of the meditation with this idea and I wrote down the law of minimization, I looked up on the internet the law of minimization, and what popped up was a law in agricultural science called the law of minimum, if you can believe that, and is otherwise known as something called Liebig's law. And it's about something about learning what is the most, what is the limiting nutrient. Now, I'm going to read you what the law actually is. And by the way, this was from we're talking like 1840s. This is when my great grandmother's house was built in North Carolina, by the way, right around that same time. It says, and this is from the book I'm reading from page 37, yield is proportional to the amount of the most limiting nutrient, whatever that may be. Now, what does that mean? Well, for instance, if a plant's growing in your yard and it has lots of sun and soil, but no water, will the plant grow? Well, in Florida, we know the answer to that very easily. If you don't have water in Florida, even if you have soil and sun, you don't have the limiting nutrient, which is water, right? So you have to have water to make it grow and improve. And so you have to look at the scarcest resource or the limiting factor. So so we have to look at what resources are available to us, what resource is needed, to what resource is limiting the growth, or what resource is needed. I hope this is making sense to you. So it's funny because right as I was writing the book, I had just had a friend in town, and this friend, I didn't even know this when she came because I'd met her through an educational program I was in. And I didn't realize that she was like the president of the Rose Society, like nationally. And I knew she had roses, but what I learned during her trip to my home is she had over 100 rose bushes that she managed and cared for. And I called her about this law, and she said, it's funny that you would contact me about this. And I said, well, I want to share with you what I remember about our time, because I had this small little rose garden at my home. I had like, I don't know, it was maybe 4 or 5 bushes. And I was pretty happy and proud of my roses. And she kind of came out and said, oh, that's nice. And I said, well, I said, I was real proud of these. And she said, I know, sweetie, these are great. She said, but can I help you trim them back? And I said, well, sure. I said, I used to work with my mom and her roses, but I didn't really understand all of what she was doing. And so I felt good that I uncovered and saved this rose, and I added something to it. Anyway, so she said, well, roses are funny. Roses, left to their own devices, they just grow leaves, and they create all this extra stuff around them, and it's really hard for the bud, for it to bud and come out, because all of the energy is used on these extraneous things. So, and this is true too, like when you grow vegetables, you pull back kind of the lower parts so that all the energy goes to the growth, of the veggie. So like I do that with broccoli and other things that I've grown. So what she showed me is, first of all, I was cutting them wrong. But anyway, she showed me how and where to cut and to move back. And she said, their air needs to blow. Right now, it wasn't soil or water, it was air that was missing. And it was too much extraneous things, could not let the rose bloom and grow. There was like drags on the rose's energy. And I thought, this is exactly what I'm trying to get across about the things we hold on to in our physical world. Like everything that we have around us. And we talked about this recently, that things around us hold energy. Like I think I shared one show that the rock behind me and some of those things up there, they're things that I love and that mean a lot to me. And the energy they hold is positive, and that's why they're there. But it used to be that I would have stuff all around my desk everywhere that, a mess over here, a mess over there. And I felt like I was trudging through, quicksand, or trudging through mud every time I was trying to work. And it was because all of the energy that this stuff was holding all around me. And so I began to clear off my desk. I, looked through old papers. My inbox had become a landing pad for garbage. And it just, thing after thing after thing, I started clearing out. And interestingly, as I did that, my phone started ringing for different kinds of work I'd been hoping for, work I loved, work I'd been planning on. But I hadn't created the space for this energy to come in and through, because I was holding on to all this old stuff. And so it's not that the old stuff is bad, it's that it's not on purpose. It's that it drags on your energy. We've talked about this too with kind of jokingly about how when we get ready in the morning, sometimes we have to go through a whole closet of clothes to get to the 4 things, that we actually wear, because we're holding on to things from when we were thin. We're holding on to things for if we gain weight. So we've got all these games we play with the stuff in our closet, and that takes a lot of emotional energy every morning we get ready. So these are little things, but it's like, the common saying is death by 1,000 paper cuts, because our energy is constantly going everywhere, and we're not able to grow kind of where we are because so many things around us are getting our emotional energy. This is true in our home with our furniture, with things that are broken. I've worked with people before who were living with a lot of things that needed fixing around them, and the energy was so heavy, and all they did was get rid of things that were broken, and all of a sudden their home felt good. The energy was flowing, and they felt this sense of lightness around them. And the reason is there wasn't something there that was holding their energy. It could flow and grow. So it's like, this law is about removing those things that are inhibiting our growth. Ultimately, it's about removing those things, and then our growth happens naturally, like the rose. What's interesting, though, the rose needs maintaining. And as my friend had shared with me, and I credit her in the front of the book, and I had her permission to share, one of the things she said is, if you see a rose that's grown in the wild, you'll barely ever see a bloom, or it'll be really hidden because it hasn't been maintained. She said, then you see people that don't know how to care for the rose properly, and they're always adding all these things to it, all these chemicals, which are bad for the rose and bad for the ground and bad for the water. But if you simply remove what the rose doesn't need, that the rose grows naturally. And that's what I absolutely believe about us. And of course, we talk a lot in the spiritual world about what do we need to release mentally, emotionally, spiritually. That's where the forgiveness work comes in. And we'll get to that in the coming weeks. But this week is so much about, in the physical world, is there something you're holding on to that needs to be released? And we often think of this law and this release as releasing something negative. And certainly we want to release things that are negative. They're negative if you look at them and it reminds you of an old relationship that was toxic. You want to remove that. If you are holding on to things that remind you of something painful in your past, and every time you look at it, there's an emotional charge, you want to release that. So what you are doing is releasing these connections, to these things. And when without them there, you're not reminded of those past circumstances in the same way. So it's less to process emotionally so that you can be more focused and on purpose. But to really know what to release, you also really have to have clarity in what do you want to do? What do you want to be bringing to the world? What do you want to be producing that you're bringing into the world? And that will help you decide what things you need to release. I find it interesting that the more let me say it this way. I've spent my career as a minister, and I've done a lot of different things in that role. I've also spoken, as you all know, in the corporate setting, in the other not-for-profit settings, but my heart is really the heart of a minister, and it always has been. And I find it interesting that as I've aged, things that meant a great deal to me when I was little, like there was this little box. I don't think I've ever showed it to you, Sean, but it's this little wood box that when I was a child in the Methodist church, it had these drawers you'd open. We'd put our money in the top, and there was this drawer you'd open, and I'd help the lady count the money every Sunday from the kids, And when the church that I grew up in closed, my mom saved me that box. And so that little box is special to me. So it's special to me because even at like 4 and 5 years old. I loved the church. I loved going. I loved the people. I loved doing crafts. I loved doing activities. I loved the choir. I loved the music. And, so that thing that I have is a beautiful reminder. So it's interesting how that came back into my life. My mom's gavel that she used as a board president came back into my life later in life. Even her Bible, I have. So those are things that are special and I love. Now, let me say this. The other part of this teaching is we ask even the things we love if they need to go to someone else, because it might be time to bless someone else with that thing. And I'll give you a for instance. So when I was it was right after ministerial school, and I was working with another minister, and she was really trying to come to terms with her relationship with the Bible, because the Bible had been used very negatively against her. She had not read it growing up in the way I had. And she noticed I loved the Bible and asked me about it. Well, I had given her my childhood Bible. I said, this belongs to you now. It was a release for me. It helped and encouraged her. And then 10 years later, interestingly, the Bible came back to me. And so in the Native culture, which is also a part of my tradition, that is called the giveaway. In the giveaway is very, very sacred. And it's not giving things we don't want and don't like. As a matter of fact, it's about giving things we love. And we know if we really live under the idea that we are one, if I give to Sean, if I give to my son, if I give to someone on the street, someone at church, there is no me and there is no them. There's only one people, one body, one community. So as I give to them this sacred giveaway, I'm giving it expecting nothing in return. The only condition of the gift is that they continue the giveaway. And a great many things I've given that way. That Bible I gave that way as a giveaway. I never expected to see it again. And when it came back to me, it was such a gift that I said, oh, what a gift to receive this. I still use it today. But mostly, there was years ago, I gave away an instrument. I've given away a piano. I've given away a car. There was nothing wrong with any of those things. But those things said to me, this goes to this person. And I gave it without any expectation of return. So the giveaway is a very sacred tradition. I've learned about the giveaway from a Cherokee teacher, from a shaman, from a Lakota Sioux. So it's very, very common and known in most indigenous tribal cultures that I'm aware of. I can't say everyone, but everyone I know of, the giveaway is a part of it, because it is knowing culture as the people, not me and you. It's the people. Like even the word usually that describes the tribe, like the Dene. Dene simply means the people. So I want you to think about, I know I'm going deep on this, so you really do need to read the book on this chapter. It's so deep. And I find that operating in this law is somehow very freeing, because it is between me and God what is kept and what is released. And I get complete clarity before I release it. And I can honestly say, I've never been sorry about something I've released. It has always been a gift to release it. If it is something I'm no longer using, I am very happy to, or no longer need, I'm very happy to take it to my local thrift store where I know the guy by name and walk in there and he says, what great thing did you bring me today? He knows I'm going to bring him good stuff. And if it's something that is a sacred gift and I want to participate in the giveaway, that has so much deep meaning. And in every case of the giveaway that I've done that, I have had long-standing relationships with these people over the years, men, women, young, old, black, white, native, Asian. It has absolutely crossed every potential cultural divide simply through this gift of the giveaway. And it is a giving of a gift that is yours, that you love, that you're ready to go to someone else realizing as you give it away, there is no away. It's simply in another part of the people. And anyway, it's a very, very beautiful, beautiful gift. And I had in mind Sean would read for us today. It might seem like a non sequitur with what I'm talking about, but this chapter for me is about a deeper understanding of God. It's about a deeper understanding of nature. It's about a deeper understanding of our place, in culture. And Sean, I still think we should read it, even though I haven't really teed it up that well. I just decided.
But this is in this chapter, right? I mean,
yes.
yeah.
So yeah, I should say a little about it. That my grandfather rather was a Methodist minister. He also happened to have been a minister in Orlando. By the way, Sean, I just found out in the last 30 days, which is strange, that he spoke at the same Unitarian church we just did our services at in the in like the mid 1900s.
Wow.
It is incredible, my connection with this grandfather.
That is incredible.
Yes. And I recently got his Bible. Speaking of, I recently got his Bible, and I think I might have mentioned this recently. Maybe it was in a Monday night that somebody in the family said, you really need to have this. And I opened it and I started laughing because he did the same thing I did. Every time he used a Bible verse, he wrote the date that he used it on the margin. And I do the exact same thing. I've never seen another, I'm sure probably other ministers do it, but I'd never seen it before. So it's pretty funny.
How connected. I mean, that is beautiful. That's beautiful.
It was really, really beautiful. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, really beautiful and so connected. Yeah. But nature for me is always, nature is always a prototype for spiritual laws. And if we can be still enough, nature will give us so many blessings and learnings. In the mornings, I've been getting up really early. And I don't know if you saw, Sean, my note I put out on Mighty Networks recently with a picture of the sunrise. And it has completely changed the way I walk into the day because the birds are happy I'm there. My cat likes to come out and be with me. She'll run up a tree and make sure I've seen her, And there's a connection, and they know I'm there, and I know they're there, and they talk to me, and they are communicating with me. And I don't know, it's always been a part of my path and journey. And sometimes I'm doing all the spiritual stuff and I'm talking about the Bible and everything else. But the truth is that connection probably means more than anything to me, that connection with nature and just with life itself. And so anyway, this poem I asked Sean to read was written by my grandfather. It was published as well I think it was in the Southern Literary Review. I was going to look at the year. Was it 19? Let's see. I think I have it in the book. It was published 1932 in the Southern Literary Review. And it was my mom's favorite poem as well. I read it at her memorial. So this one is super special to me. And it just expands our understanding and view of God in a really beautiful way. Even though he was a Methodist minister, Sean, as you read this and as our listeners hear it, they're going to say he was a Methodist because, and that was one of the reasons he left the church. There was really two reasons. It was politics, and I think their idea of God was just a little too small. Yes.
This is Gods of the Blue Ridge. Almost the gods I caught at play, when through the music of the rain I climbed too tall a notice brow, heedless of the crashing thunderbolts and mounting gale that swirled the broken branches through a midday gloom, prophetic of weird secrets. Guarded well by searing tongues of flame on either side were gorges that short days before had husbanded the dew to deck with brightest green the moss-grown rocks that beckoned in cool peace, but now led foaming torrents that madly sought to leave these virgin wilds, as though themselves affrighted by strange sights and unfamiliar scenes. But sudden, as the trail became less steep, the summit almost gained, the gloom dissolved, a cloud rift burst, and flung a shower of gold o'er all the enchanted scene of mountain crests, when full-flushed mountains played. A stage of the gods had set for playing some high drama of their own. Out on the far-flung horizon did my startled eyes behold bright-tinted curtains of azure and lilac and crimson and gold, drawn by aurora at noontime to hide where the gods had fled from adventurous eyes of a mortal whose steps to their stage had led. And then I turned my eyes again to where the well-known mountain masses should be grouped at distance customary. And lo, they too were changed. The gods had used them, but changed their distances from where I stood. In the western sky, Blood Mountain should be 20 miles and more away, but now so close it nestled that its craggy top showed stark and clear. And in the east, the Tray, its pointed peak, upreared so near that I imagined I could shout a message there and get the echo back. And so on every side was every distance shortened. So the gods had changed the scene for playing some new act on this ethereal stage. Enraptured by the eerie glory that about me stood unrolled, I sought in vain for other answer to the miracle sublime, and knew that not for one poor mortal's eyes had all this stage been set. Now do I doubt more than ever that the gods have gone, and left one who must dwell forever in heaven and live by himself alone, since I climbed the Blue Ridge Mountains and found that I could not pray to just one Father God on a great white throne, for I had found the gods at play.
Thank you, Sean. Beautiful. Dear friends, thank you for listening. Happy to have you along the journey. And let us know, what are you minimizing out of your life and out of your world? Blessings on the journey, my friends. Look forward to seeing you next week.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Experience of the Soul podcast with Cynthia Alice Anderson, helping you grow, prosper, and evolve. This podcast is made possible because of listeners and viewers just like you. If you would like to support the podcast with your tax-deductible contribution on an ongoing basis or through a one-time gift, head on over to experienceofthesoul.com/support. The Experience of the Soul podcast is copyright 2024 Cynthia Alice Anderson, all rights reserved, and is produced by Sean Kilgore. A production of the Soul Works Group, Incorporated.